Hello guys, and welcome to another Decrepit Gaming video. Today we return to the old world, and we return to the Dwarves with a new article out on Warhammer Community, and I just want to run through it with you guys. Some of you may not have seen it yet, and some of you may not be interested in seeing it. Maybe you'd rather listen to someone talk about it. What I'm going to do is just read through it and give my thoughts, if I have any, on what they intend to do and what they are saying. Anyway, let's continue. Old World Almanac, the lore of the Dwarven Mountain Holds. After a short wait, the Dwarven Mountain Holds have arrived in Warhammer. The old world, axes sharpened and beards waxed. On Monday, we spoke to the Warhammer studio about how the dwarves play on the tabletop, and today we're going to find out what Karaz Encore, that's the entire Dwarven realm, the you beardling, is up to during this time period. Okay, so they have done a bit of, I don't know, smoke and mirrors stuff in the studio to put these dwarves and put the old world in a time period that doesn't interfere with whatever other plans they have, or it's all Age of Sigmar related, no doubt. Anyhow, let's continue. Danny, who is obviously one of the studio guys. The dwarves are making strides at the moment, looking at the lost holds and figuring out what they can do to honour the ancestors and start reclaiming them. They're uncovering ancient technologies that had been buried in these holds, and they're trying to bring back the golden era, really. Okay. Nice picture. JTY. Since the time of woes, the dwarves have been scattered. A lot of the old holds have been lost, and they've always wanted to reclaim them. This is a time of positivity and opportunity. Chaos is a distant threat. There are other dangers out there, including the orcs and goblins, but the dwarves are of a mind to expand and reclaim. That said, they're still dwarves. To some, don't think it's possible. What's lost is gone, but to others want to get out there and get it done. You might notice a dwarf icon over 8 peaks on the map. The dwarves think they've reclaimed it, though it's really only a few of the top levels. The story in this arcane journal is of the reclamation of Kazad Vosk, a minor hold lost during a long time ago. It was an outpost of the Engineers Guild, and the dwarves are moving towards reclaiming it alongside one or two others. Well, it's actually nice to get a bit of background and a bit of fluff, as we used to say. It doesn't hurt, and it can give you a good theme around which to build an army. Danny, the dwarves are still playing an active role in what's going on in the old world. They're not focusing on themselves and digging down in their old holes. They've had pretty incredible relationship with the Empire of Man for a few centuries now. They're still coming to terms with the fact that the manlings are currently fighting amongst themselves. Why are their allies doing this? Dwarven diplomats are trying to smooth those relations over. They're not going to take sides, but they want to act as arbiters and trading partners for everyone. They're trying to be steadfast friends and allies, no matter what bickering is going on. So, interested to see what the Empire are doing. Can't double click on that, unfortunately, to see. So, JTY, it's quite hopeful time period, but we know that it's not going to last. The High King is Alric Alricsson, ruling out in Karaz Akarak. As many fans of the old world will no doubt be familiar. He will eventually be mortally wounded during the Great War against Chaos, and his sons will be killed, but he survives long enough for his Thanes to go out and perform mighty deeds to prove themselves worthy of the throne, that when Thorgrim, a well-known name whose mother is High King's sister, proves his worth, and the future fullness of time is crowned High King. He is the first of our 3 characters in the Arcane Journal, but he has not earned the name of Grudgebearer yet. He's still Thorgrim Ulricsson. He's a prince, and he's the Carl of Great Book of Grudges. A scholar of grudge law. There's a fair bit of foreshadowing in the character description for what is to come. I'm really hoping that they continue with this lore and they continue with these stories, because it is really good to have a good strong background for a setting. Danny, for anyone familiar with him, it's worth noting that Thorgrim of our period is much younger dwarf, one who's been quite so jaded, who hasn't been quite so jaded by the rigours of rulership, and who does not yet own most of the items later associated with him. He's armed instead with a magical or runic items appropriate to his current station as a prince. Okay. KTY. He has an item called the Grudge Stone, which is an oath stone that makes him incredibly tough to shift. He and his unit become unbreakable, and he dishes out hatred for orcs and goblins. He retains the armour of Skaldor, but he's a different weapon and he fights on foot. Ungrim Ironfist is also around, and he's a lot more aggressive in this period. He doesn't have the Dragon's Cloak yet, but does possess the Slayer's Crown and the Axe of Dargo. His duty to clear the curse of Slayer vow from his bloodline. He has two vows that are complete opposition that the royal line can't reconcile. The vows of kingship to continue his bloodline and protect his people cannot exist side by side with the Slayer vow. And this contradiction drives every king of Karak Kadrin slowly mad, trying to find a balance. Ungrim's solution is to find a queen whom he believes is more qualified to rule than him, and considers himself to be. So, Ungrim's solution is to find a queen whom he believes is more qualified to rule than he considers himself to be, so that once he has met his doom and the Slayer's vow is dispensed, she can rule in his stead. Until such time, his sons assume the throne. Danny, the trouble is he really struggling to find a doom worthy of a king. I'm sure there's plenty of dooms worthy of a king in the old world. JTY, Karak Kadrin ramps up his activity during this period and is taking part in a lot of battles. If there's a battle they can reach, Ungrim wants to be part of it. Danny, Burlock Damondson is our third character, and he's the one who reaches out to the other holds to inform them that there's going to be an attempt to reclaim Kazid Vosk. It's the Slayer's Hold who answer the call. Alongside all of these wonderful engineers, guild contraptions, there's a host of Slayers, and Ungrim is on his way. One of the things people know about Burlock is that he nearly got killed out of the guild. Killed? One of the things people know about Burlock is that he nearly got kicked out of the guild on a number of occasions for being a bit wild in his youth. What we've got here, well, experimental Burlock. He is field testing inventive weapons. He famously loses an arm at some point in his adventures, and both of the weapons the new model is carrying certainly look as though they could blow off a limb. He's got a hammer with a furnace in the end of it and a steam-powered pistol, either of which could go catastrophically wrong. It's actually most of the reason he ends up leading the reclamation of Kazid Vosk. He makes one too many mess-ups in the Engineers Guild. Okay, mad scientist. JTY. And he's given a choice to do something significant to prove your majority, to prove that you aren't totally reckless. Your father's a good engineer, which is why we're putting up with you. Or you're not an engineer anymore. He completely misunderstands the objective and says, right, we're going to reclaim the lost hold of Kazid Vosk. This isn't really what the guild want, but if he goes ahead, he either doesn't return, which deals with the issue of his experiments blowing up workshops, or he might actually succeed. So they give him the resources and send him off on his merry way through the underway. Because it was an outpost of the guild, It's thought to be full of workshops and inventions. However, it's been fallen for a long time, and it's full of orcs. We follow the story of his arrival and assault on the upper levels. This is a different proposition for dwarves, because it puts them in the role of attacking a fortified enemy, rather than sitting back and firing cannons in defence. They do reclaim the upper levels, and we may return to Kazakh in the future. Thanks again guys, lots more to uncover about the dwarves during this period. Check back in Warhammer community tomorrow. Be examining some of the new and classic models. Well, that's good, we'll be back tomorrow then. Well, hopefully that hasn't bored you too much for anybody that's watched it and listened to me babbling and basically tripping over my own tongue at times. But I'm really looking forward to these wee guys coming out, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what lies in store for us old world fans and fantasy battle players. There's plenty of us about still, and thankfully there's some new ones appearing. I've met a few young, eager guys in my local gaming club, and I'm really happy to see it. I'll speak to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.